So I think we agreed today we will talk about training, what training means to us, because we've both been training for a very long time, and it's very much part of our life.
That's right.
So where should we start? First of all, I'm very interested in what training means to you.
Well, training is a part of my life, as we discussed earlier. It's something which the reason why I'm here is because of the training. Okay, I started with training at a very early age. I started with football, then I did some basic martial arts, and since then training was there every single day. So for me, I don't look at the training anymore as something, do it like 2-3 times a week, but I look at it as a part of my life. So I train every single day. Like this morning, I did my morning routine, which is a form of training as well, and every single day. So it's a slightly different for me to look at training, like let's say for somebody who go to gym 3 or 4 times a week or do two trainings a week. So for me, it's an essential part of my life.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, for me, training, same thing. Like I've been training maybe since I was 5 years old. It was always a huge part of my life. Maybe until only just recently, maybe last year and a half, where training is not right up there for me. It's still important, but it's not like the most important thing. But there were long time in my life, training was the number one importance because it was literally defining me. It was my identity. I was athlete. I was professional wrestler. I was in sports school for 8 years in Slovakia, which was designed just for training, making sure you are a good athlete. We had training in the morning, training in the afternoon, and this would be from Monday to Friday. So 2 phases of training every single day for 8 years. Since I was 5th year in my elementary school until I finished high school, until I was 18. Even then, I went to a sports army. So for athletes who wanted to keep going and they had certain level and they had some chances to represent country, we had this. Because at that time, this was 1997, we had compulsory army. You had to go for 1 year. But for these sports people to not lose it, they created this special sports army. So we only had like an army training for first 3 weeks. It was called pre-match. Over there we learned marching, a little bit shooting and things like that, the discipline and so on. But then we were transferred to Dukla Trenčín, and over there we trained same thing in the morning and in the afternoon, and in between we ate, we did some other activities, but it was based on training as well. We've done a lot of training camps in like other countries as well. We were attending a league, the Slovak league, competitions. So, and then after that, I went to university, which is sports and physics. Was the FTVŠ, Fakulta telesnej výchovy a športu, and I've done the bachelor degree there. So for 3 years, I was again in sport, studying it and still training as a wrestler. And this was actually the time when I was in university where I was doing professional wrestling. And because the university was distant study, it was like it wasn't like a daily, I had to go there, but it was distant. So we had like a week really intense, but then it would be 3 months just self-study. Okay, so it was quite flexible. And then after, I still wrestled, then I was personal training, so still working in a gym for the last 14 years since I came here. So I've been always training in the gym, pretty much every day, Monday to Friday, usually never weekends here. I always took that off, I focus on other things, whether it was friends, meeting friends, traveling. So I would usually train Monday to Friday. But yeah, there were times, especially when I was in the sports school, which was serious. This was a serious business. It was 8 years. proper focus, and then obviously 3 years when I was professional, serious focus on training. It was the number one focus. So I would say altogether, good 11 years where the training was right up there. It was all about preparing myself for the competitions, preparing myself for the league, and we had to perform. So it was the highest possible focus in terms of training.
So would you say that the training kind of shaped your personality?
Oh, massively. Man, it literally shaped my identity. I was defined by being a wrestler. I was defined by it. Like, even when we were going to a nightclub or like in Bratislava and we were going as wrestlers, everyone knew these guys are wrestlers, we had a reputation, not always good one, not all wrestlers gave good reputation, but Bratislava wasn't that big, so when wrestlers went out or, like sometimes, anyway, there was certain reputation about it, not always the good one, but like everyone knew, he's a wrestler. This was my identity for a very long time, even when I was already doing other jobs. But so anyway, we a little bit shifting from training. I have a question. So, how would you define training, and what type of training would you mention, or how would you kind of divide training into different types?
Okay, so training, I think you have to have first some kind of goal or some kind of idea what you want to achieve. And training is something, if you're talking about physical training, not so much mental training, which is part of it, but the physical training. So you basically set yourself some kind of goal and you want to achieve it. And you have either time scale, timeline, when you want to achieve it, and you're just working on it, basically. And again, when we're talking what type of training, again, it depends on personality. So you can have training like somebody, for somebody like you, which is the top-notch high-level training, because you have a certain serious goals and you want to achieve it. Or you have a training which is more loose and kind of more relaxed. You just want to get somewhere, and maybe you're preparing for some kind of hiking in the summer and you want to get better. So I think you have different levels of training, but it's all depends. It's very personal. So it depends basically on you, what kind of goal you set for yourself. And again, important part in training is that routine. So you have to do it. You have to push yourself, and then you measure your progress. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we also training people. So most of our clients, I guess, are not professional sportsmen, and for them is lifestyle choice. It's training is part of being healthier, being more fitter, being more stronger, being able to do things with their kids. So you're right by saying that everyone defines their training goal very differently. Some people are very ambitious and want to compete in CrossFit, for example. They train towards the competitions. But most of the people who I know in the city, which I've been training people, was mostly just to get in good shape. It was often the body transformation they were after, or just getting leaner, getting fitter, getting stronger. So these three things, usually you want to get in a better shape, or you want to get fitter for your sport. Maybe you do running, marathon or half marathon, or you do triathlon or something, or sport, maybe football. You want to get stronger in your legs, faster, a little more explosive. So even like skiing. So you're training towards certain activity which you enjoy doing, or it's for fitness. Fitness, strength. Stronger, fitter. So, and I guess making sure. So often people train with a trainer to prevent injuries and to get to the goal faster.
That's right.
One of the definition of coaching for me is that coaching is like a jet, like a fighter jet. It gets you to destination faster.
That's true.
You can use some slow plane, but if you get a coach, he has done it. He has done it with quite a few people before, achieved those results with them. So he knows the best strategy how to get people where they want to get. Otherwise, you can do it on your own, train on your own. It might not be as interesting or as fun.
And maybe not so safe.
Not so safe, or you do so many mistakes that you do one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, two steps back, and you're not really achieving. And then you get a little bit frustrated with it, and you might even finish.
That's right.
Just because you didn't achieve it and you didn't have fun, it wasn't enjoyable. So training needs to be enjoyable, and that's why there's so many different types of training. So I think you mentioned the level of trainings. The levels, like the professional sportsman would have very high level of training. So that means volume, number of sessions a week, like intensity of it would be very different. But then you also have different type of training. It can be training for running, kind of specific training for sports. You do Krav Maga. You do completely different training for people who do Krav Maga.
Or for somebody who's injury and recovery.
Exactly. That's completely another, where you do kind of corrective exercises or recovery exercises. So, there's so many different type of training. You can do yoga, Pilates, you can do CrossFit, you can do Krav Maga. So we got a huge variety, and people need to find the type of training what they enjoy, because only then they can have it sustainable. If you drag yourself into that session because you don't like to do it, that's not the place to be. Because first of all, life is too short. You should enjoy it, and there are other ways to achieve good shape than just one way of, let's say, literally just like going to gym and lifting weights. That's not the only way. Some people love it, but some people don't at all.
Yeah.
And another training is obviously group training. So that's what is very, very popular in CrossFit. You got group training, so you got completely different vibe, completely different atmosphere and dynamics. Because you have coach is there to lead the session, giving you the best instructions. You got banter with the fellow trainees, and you usually know them by names, and you know about them. You talk in the changing room as well about personal life, so you suddenly have way stronger bond than just lifting weights or just actually doing training. So there's so many ways these days. These days especially, like, you've got so much variety. Even in the city, square mile, if I would count the gyms, oh my god, I easily would count 20 different concepts, different gyms, different type of training. You could actually start if you want to train, if you want to get physically in a better shape in some way.
What do you think, where people make a mistake with training when they, let's say, quit very early? Because I can see, and I read somewhere that they did some research, and they said that the average time people spend in a gym when they're enthusiastic is around 3 to 4 months, and then that enthusiasm going down. What do you think? Where do people make mistake? Why is it like that?
I think it's like that because they do miss something in a training. That could be guidance. Let's say, as I said before, they are not achieving at all what they set themselves to achieve. They probably invest some money, they invest some time, some effort, some sacrifices. Maybe they could be with family, but they were going to the gym because they wanted to achieve it. And often you get distracted. Maybe they have a working group of people who go out often. And this is happening very often in the city. So in January, everyone is pumped, but as soon as the work hits, like February, March, people are busy. People get busy. They call it we get busy, but what it is really, you lose the track of priorities. That's what it is. You basically start to prioritize all the work or all the social events, going for a dinner with client or this and that, or going with friends instead out, and it's your priority shifts. The training wasn't obviously up there, because if it would be, you would carry on.
Yeah.
So I think it's lack of clarity in those priorities, and often not achieving their goal as fast as they probably thought that it will be going within 2-3 months. But if you didn't train or you've been eating and living your life in a very bad manner for a long time, I always say, some people came to me, they haven't been training for 10 years. And I'm like, well, it's not going to take you now 2 months to undo 10 years of bad eating and not doing much, getting stiff and, weak. I mean, it's going to take some time. You just have to be aware of it. So you can't expect quick fixes. You might start to notice, if you are guided with a trainer, good trainer, you might actually start to make really nice progress very fast. But then it slows down, because of course when you change diet rapidly, when you suddenly start to train, although training is very important to start slowly, because you can get injury, you get tight, the muscles are not used to it, you get muscle soreness all the time. So you're training and you need to start gradually increasing the intensity or volume and so on. But diet, you could go quite drastic into suddenly healthy diet, but again, are you going to sustain it? Because it's so drastic. I always recommend in terms of diet to go one change at a time, one change a week, and really establish that new habit before you move on to another one, because even that one change will start to bring really positive results. But yeah, in terms of training, why they finishing early is just, as I mentioned, it's all sorts of things, distractions, lack of priorities, not priority anymore, life gets in the way, and because they haven't got that trainer, they haven't got that commitment, they probably sign up often for very cheap gym, the membership is going, and they shifting and they're going down in terms of numbers. So in January they were going 3 times a week or 4 times a week. In February it drops to 2 times a week, and by March they go hardly once a week or once in 2 weeks, once a fortnight. And before you know it, they just paying membership for nothing, and they don't even care because it's like 30 quid, 40 quid. It's the low cost now. You have a lot of low cost like Pure Gym or other gyms, Easy Gym. They don't charge much, so it's somewhere in a background, and the priority of that disappears.
Yeah. And do you think that? What would you say? What would you suggest? How early should one start with the training? Is it important to start in an early age, like when you're a kid, or you can wait and let's say start when you're adult? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think first of all, kids are usually moving all the time. At least my son, he's going to be 3 years old in less than a month, and he's constantly moving, constantly jumping off the sofa, or constantly grabbing something, pulling something, climbing something, jumping, wrestling with other kids sometimes, so they train without thinking about training. But you probably asking for structured training.
Yes, what I'm interested in, let's say, like these days, like back home when we grown up, we had the physical education was a part of the educational system. You had to do it, right?
Yeah.
It was, you must. Yeah. Now the kids don't need to, so they can choose. It's more voluntary.
Yes.
What do you think about
that? That's a good question. I think, I'm old school in this. I think we should guide kids, and therefore that physical education, they call it, PE, physical education or something, it should be also mandatory, compulsory, not voluntary, because like every other subject, when you've got mathematics or physics in school and it's on your curriculum, you have to do it. It's not like, I choose not to do maths, or I choose not to do English literature. I don't think you can do that, right? So it should be absolutely compulsory with the physical movement and physical training as well for kids, because especially these days, when they are glued to screens, whether it's on their phone or on their laptops, I mean, it's no brainer. Like definitely the 1 hour or the 45 minutes classes, I don't know, that should be absolutely mandatory every day. When they go to school, every day should be some kind of physical activity. And we used to have it, and it's amazing. I mean, yes, sometimes we didn't want to do it those days, but most of the time you were fine. You knew you were going to play some games with balls, maybe football or something, or volleyball or whatever. Like, it was fun. Often it was fun. It was also the way to excel in front of others. A little bit maybe competition. Some people like to show off their skills. It was a nice opportunity to have fun and to excel and to get better at certain skills, motoric skills, physical skills. So yeah, my opinion, it should be compulsory. And when to start, I think after 3 years old, you can definitely, even like before 3, but maybe around 2 years old. But I think after 3 years old, it makes sense that you start to put your kids into some kind of, I don't know how they call it, a circle, or like a group, like maybe a football group, or it's maybe even jiu-jitsu or wrestling, or it could be athletics, or it could be anything, gymnastics, dance. It could be anything where they have something to look forward to every week, where they can progress, socialize with other kids. They need to learn how to live with other kids. Yeah, absolutely. They should start to do something very early, because when they do early, they're building up already their foundations.
That's right.
So what do we see? Another thing, what do we see in terms of training these days? What we see is that we got adults coming to train with you whose motoric skills are absolutely non-existent. He is so discoordinated that you give him something like jump on the box and he struggles. It's like all over the place, or he's worried, scared, fear is coming in, never been jumping, never done a lunge or proper burpee, for example, so it's all discoordinated. So when you try to teach him something like deadlift, like, okay, you need to hinge through the hip, it's not the squat, like, you have to keep your spine straight. He hasn't got awareness of body. He can't control certain body. So the body awareness and the motoric control is not there, because he's never been doing it in the past. Or he's sitting, working perhaps behind his desk, and then walking is his activity, which I never classed as activity, by the way. That's for me like breathing. Not walking, like, unless it's a long walk, maybe in a nature or in a mountain, but walking from home to tube, that's just, it's like, to me, like breathing and eating. That's an absolute must. But yeah, so that's a shame when you see adults with absolute no motoric skills, no coordination, no awareness of his body movements and body activation, how to activate upper back, lower back, core, okay, glutes, but there's no idea. And when you start young, this will develop automatically without you even. So that's why I think it should be in schools and it should be compulsory.
Definitely. I mean, the motoric skills are developed in a very early stage, and as you mentioned, as a kid, when you're climbing the trees or doing things which you should do as a kid, that's when your motoric skills start evolving. And then if you join a sport club, it could be athletic or gymnastic or any martial arts, these things are enhanced even further. And then basically, it stays with you. So if the kids would do more physical education, early stages, I believe that you wouldn't see these disadvantages like you mentioned it, because I can see it in a martial arts training as well. When I have people who are count as adult, I'm talking about healthy people. Obviously, if you have a medical issue, that, I don't know, some neuro problem or motoric skills, that's normal. But with the training, again, you can improve it. So that's where the training come handy. But if you have a healthy adult who comes in his 20s or late 20s or even early 20s, and you tell him to combine circles, left and right arm or right and left, but they can't do it. You see, they struggle.
Coordination.
Yeah, simple coordination. So that's when you're thinking that
reflexes.
Yes, this is something which is not good. And by the modern science, actually, these days, they say that if you don't have these if you don't exercise and you don't have these motoric skills and you don't work on your physical body, then later stages affect your brain, and we have these days a rise in Alzheimer and all kind of problems, medical issues, which it's closely linked to lack of exercise, lack of movement.
Yes.
So the training is an important part in life, I think.
Training actually train your brain, because what is training is certain stimulus of movement, and they constantly work with the body. So you got signals running constantly. So when you have to do something coordinated, or some reflex, or it's some kind of balancing, or some kind of proprioception, your brain is firing, because it's constant feedback. Leg does something, brain needs to know about it, brain sends a signal, it's constant communication, brain body. So your nervous system it's activated. That's why even in older age, do some kind of physical, as you said before in a previous podcast, you said learning some skill, whether it's instrument, whether it's physical balancing or juggling balls, or whatever that is. It works your brain as well as motoric skills, coordination, balance, and these things. So it's not just physical; it trains your brain as well.
Definitely.
So tell me, Tibor, because you just started another topic in terms of training. That training is not just to get stronger, to get fitter, and just look in better shape, but you very well pointed out that often we do training to recover from injury or maybe accident or something. So you are more placed in that sphere of things, where you are more on the recovery side. Often you are because you are doing treatments, and you have like you treat people literally, but you also probably recommend some training or maybe physical exercises where they have a chance to recover. So would you explore on this?
Yeah, so I see quite a lot of people with musculoskeletal problems, and it could be done by wrong training, let's say, which is very often the people don't train the right way, or they just sign up for the gym, like you said, to one of these cheap gyms. They go there, they grab the first weight and pull something, and then they come in and, oh, my back is pulled, my neck is pulled, things like that. So going back to the training, like you mentioned, this is very important, that if you want to achieve something and you don't know what you're doing, it's good to hire a coach or a trainer, even for a few sessions, just to kind of make things the right way and avoid the injuries. But once the injury is there, then again, one of the best things to fix it is training, it's exercise. Okay, that's again when professional steps in, like yourself, or even me, who can give you the corrective exercise, so you can correct the mistake you done previously, and then again, it's a different type of exercise, obviously. So first of all, it's always important to find the cause. What's the cause of that problem you have? Let's say the pulled back. Is it something you've done in a gym, and then you aggravated it more with sitting behind a computer, or is it something you had for a very long time because of your lifestyle? And once you know what caused the problem, then we can set up a plan, exercise, therapy, so on. So it's kind of paradox that you can injure yourself by exercise, but you can get better with the exercise as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a Slovak saying, "Klinom sa vybíja." So it basically means that often, as you said, we can get injured by exercise, but actually exercise will get you back, not just rest. Sometimes you just purely have to rest for a while, but eventually you have to start moving it. You need to get the blood flow going. This is how you flush out, the waste products, or this is how things starts to function. So it's the flow, coming back to that flow, not keeping it stagnant, because in stagnant waters, everything just dies, or everything gets kind of polluted. It's the same with if you're not moving. Let's say you kind of injured your knee, and you just keep it static. You know, maybe for a while, day 2, 3, but after you need to start to move it again. So, you know, get back to some sort of training. I can mention for myself that, as I said, the training, everyone has different level of that training and wants to do different level, different intensity, different type of training. But for me, as I said, like now, I have family, you know, I have some goals in other areas, and now training is for me to make sure I stay in shape. It's more maintenance. Maintenance, stay in shape, stay healthy, stay strong, relatively. I don't think I will be lifting those weights which I was lifting 5, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But as long as I am, you know, not too far, I'm kind of touching still a decent weights, you know, like I'm still looking in a shape, and I feel in a good shape. So feeling is very important as well, not just how you look, because often people look great but they feel horrible because they do sacrifices on their bodies which they shouldn't do just for that six-pack or something. You know, they starve themselves, or they go into extremes, you know. So now I'm in a stage I don't go to extreme. You know, there were times where I was sacrificing a lot of things. I was going into absolute limits, and I was testing, you know, and I got a few injuries out of that limits. One of them, like we talked about injuries before, but, you know, sometimes when you push that training to absolute limit, you know, sometimes you won't be able to evaluate that limit, and you just cross it, bang, something snap. So I don't need to go into that sphere anymore. And one of the reasons why I stopped actually competitions is because the competitions are often 2 days. And even if it's a day, but it's like 4 events where you go absolutely 100%, you know, and I don't train to 100%, and I train maybe 3-4 times a week now, okay? I know myself. By the way, this is another thing I wanted to talk about training, that when you're older, you don't need to put that much of a volume of a training what I did when I was 20, because I've done that. I built that foundation, I built all that volume and intensity, and, you know, I went all hard on it and everything. Now, I'm 41, I'm smarter with it in a way that it's basically you get the most out of it, even though you only invest, let's say 3-4 days a week, you still get huge benefit out of that investment. Yeah. And that's where I'm now. Like, I'm going maybe 80%, I'm not going to 100, I'm not pushing to limit. And to come back to those competitions, you know, I think one of the reasons why this happened as well, because in a competition I was going absolutely flat out. Let's say it was third event, and you already, like, your body is destroyed already after 2 hard events where I gave everything. And some of the event was like half an hour event where you run in the mountains for 20 minutes, then you had to you know, run with log and whatever, and then you have a short break, maybe 1 hour, and you go with the like heavy stones. And just like my body just wasn't really prepared for such a high intensity. So I just realized this is not good anymore for my body. It doesn't help me. It doesn't moving me to the better sphere. To the, you know, it doesn't make me more healthier. If anything, I'm risking injuries. I'm in pain for then a week, because I've done a competition Saturday, Sunday. You got 7 events, very kind of common, especially in CrossFit. You got 4 events on Saturday, 3 or 4 events on Sunday. And then whole week I was just so depleted by everything, energy, you know, no glycogen, everything hurted me, you know, everything hurts, all the muscles, everything, like just for a week recovering, just couldn't touch anything, you know, couldn't do anything. It's just, and I'm thinking, the only thing I can be happy about that, let's say I maybe achieved a good result, and also I didn't get injured, you know. But as the body, just a second, yeah, thank you. So this is another aspect of training. You need to be smart with it. You need to understand your body. You need to understand in which stage you are. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely, and as well, where you want to get with the training. So this is another important thing. That if you just do it to maintain your health, you don't need to be so hard on yourself. Obviously, if you have some kind of goal, you probably need to add more into it. But like you mentioned very well, that once you know your limit, like you said, that you've been there, you did that top kind of top-notch training, you know how you get there, and then you can get there with smarter way as well. And the age plays a huge role. So people say that it's not, but that I think it's a bit of lie. Age play a huge role. You cannot go the same way somebody who is half age of you. You just can't cope with them. You can't. Maybe for a very short time, but that is just physiologically and biologically just impossible. So I agree 100% that you need to be smart with your training. And you kind of need to know what you want to achieve. That it's not just, for me personally now these days, training is something which I'm planning for a very long time. So I don't plan short kind of events that I'm gonna get ready or I wanna look perfect for next summer and then that's it for me. I'm training because I know that it is important to maintain your routine. Okay, it's a kind of goal, but I want to maintain the routine until I'm going to be maybe 100 years old.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is where you rightly said about the age. That people think, age is not the, they want to think really positive. They want to say age is not a problem or it's not a factor. Of course it is a factor. Of course when you're 45 and someone is 22, which is half of your age, and you can't keep up the volume and intensity, the 22-year-old can go. But you're right, you might be still stronger because strength doesn't necessarily apply as much on age, unless, like basically strength, you can go way further, even up to 45 and still competing with 22 years old, if not even beating them in some cases. So strength actually you can build up slowly when you're just focusing on strength training. It's a little bit of exception, but fitness-wise, where you literally work on fitness, that's where the factor of age plays a role very early. Even between 25 and 35 is a big difference. So there are exceptions. There are some
Definitely.
odd exceptions. Unbelievable guys who are 35 or 40 and still can beat young ones, but that's very rare and is exception. That's why always exception is to the rule, But what I wanted to say, we should aspire to be in the best shape for our age, and this is where the smart or the wisdom comes in. That I'm now 50, and I'm gonna be the best shape for 50-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to compare myself with 25-year-old super athlete because you're just setting yourself up for disappointment, but you can look amazing shape. By the way, physical shape or six-pack or looking amazing in your swimwear can be achieved in even later ages. You can still look amazing when you're 50, 55, 60, 65 even.
That's right.
The muscle mass is way harder to maintain when you're 70 or 75. That's where you start to shrink, as so-called, and it's very hard to maintain a nice muscle mass.
Fun, yeah.
You perhaps would need a little bit of testosterone injection or some kind of help like that to just make sure that mass will stick on you. But until like 60, 65, you still can look in incredible shape for your age. So that's what we should strive for.
Definitely.
There is a difference between 25-year-old in shape and 65-year-old in shape, but they both can look amazing for their age. So age is playing a role, especially in fitness side of things, how fit you are. But in strength, the strength you can actually really challenge some young ones, because strength is a little bit different to be really fit in a way of like running for a long time or wrestling for a long time. If you're talking just like one deadlift or one bench press or one squat, you can, I would say, strength is way slower to achieve, but also slower to lose. Fitness is way faster to achieve, but also way faster to lose. So that's how I see those. But we are going too much specific into training now. So anyway, so yeah, there's many type of training. As we said, it's yoga. You can do martial arts. You can do strength training and all sorts of training. I think to finish it with is like making sure you do something you enjoy. So it's a long term. You're looking forward to it. You have fun. If that's with people in a group training, do that, because these days there's so much group training out there, so many options. If it's because you are dedicated to follow a certain plan and you're doing it on your own with your own music, it's in your own time, perfect as well. So this is very individual how and what type of training. The key is think long term. Okay, definitely. What can I do the whole year? What I can do whole year and still enjoy it. And sometimes you need variety. Some people like to do swimming on Tuesday, CrossFit on Thursday, they're on strength training on Friday, and over the weekend they go for a bike ride with family. So, it's okay to mix it up. I love variety myself, so what would you add to that?
Definitely, I agree 100% what you said, that you have to look long term. So don't just prepare yourself for the summer for that swimwear, and then you don't do anything for next couple of months. But the long term is important, because investing into the health through the training, it's a good investment, and you're gonna feel it as you're getting older and older. So long term variety as well, unless you're specifically preparing for some event,
special event, special goal, of course.
Definitely. And so variety is important. And again, if you're not sure, if you think that you would like to start and you're not sure, then again, you can just contact us, contact Kamil or me, and we can help you out, give you some advice, and show you maybe a way, direction.
That's right, guys. Take some action if you need some guidance. I'm very confident in training you, any kind of strength training, getting fit, getting more perhaps powerful, so any kind of power training, strength training, CrossFit training, Olympic weightlifting. I love to teach it as well. So any data, or just getting fit in general, so kind of general preparedness, metabolically fitter, cardiovascular fitter, then it's great. What I don't do is kind of corrective exercises, recovery training, because that's not my forte. I like dynamic training. So I think for that type of thing, and also obviously Tibor is very good in Krav Maga, specific training, martial arts, right? So, and you do treatments as well. So guys, just get in touch. Obviously you can find links on us or any kind of contact details below. And make sure that you subscribe to this channel, because we're obviously posting every week new video, and I believe we share a lot of information which can be very useful. Hopefully it inspires. That's why we share to inspire. That's the name of our channel. So get some action, get in contact. We would love to hear from you as well, and comment to this video, like this video as well, share it with other people who could benefit from this. So this actually brings some value, what we're doing here. We've been very long time in this industry, so I think utilize it, use it. And guys, have a great weekend, and we will see you in a week's time. So Tibor, thank you very much again.
Thank
you.
That
was great.
It's good to chat with you.
Nice one.
Perfect.